Hello, the internet. Everything's just making a noise simultaneously, as it always does. Um, Everybody, everywhere. There was a sound of Twitch notifications crying out. I'm just gonna retweet Phil here. So, as the stream begins, my dog has just looked like it wants to go outside, but it doesn't. Welcome back to Eidolon. We're gonna be playing some more of it tonight. Unfortunately, Janine is in Napland at the moment, which is a nice place to be. But depending on when she wakes up, she may or may not join us later. My special guest tonight, I'm Jack DeKeat. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at NotQuiteReal. And I have a special guest tonight. Who are you?
I'm Anthony Birch, and I'm Reverend Anthony on Twitter, and I do a stupid web series called Hey, I Switch Plan with my stupid sister, and I wrote a stupid game called Borderlands 2, which
Is
is
that
like...
the one with the house, but it's very quiet, and you pick all the objects up in the house?
No, it's the one where you work at a border and you give passports to a bunch of very sad-looking people. I think
Oh,
those get
right.
confused a lot, though.
Yeah,
And
Congratulations
then,
on all the BAFTA wins, by the way.
oh, no problem. Fuck you. I'm Jack DeKeat. I actually have a BAFTA.
No, I don't. I have a nomination. I super don't.
It's still that nomination is still infinity% more BAFTA anything that I have. What I have is a lot of deep-seated anger that Far Cry 3 did get nominated for a BAFTA. That's what I have. That's
Did
the
it get
closest I
nominated for
have to
BAFTA this year?
It got nominated for the BAFTA the year that Borderlands 2 came out. So BAFTA moved right on past all the boner fart jokes and went, the young man looking at his bloodied hands asking, what have I become? That is certainly BAFTA worthy.
Which category were you in?
I wasn't in any category. I didn't get nominated for anything.
Oh, you
Far
didn't
Cry
get
3 was in
nominated.
the best writing or something like that.
Who won that year?
Probably Walking Dead.
Oh, yes. That's the game.
Absolutely, justifiably so.
That's the game set at the border and you hand passports to sad people, right?
Yes, that's exactly that game.
Right.
Ours is the same, except we didn't have Moon Wizards, and Walking Dead did.
I saw your tweet about being really disappointed that you haven't worked Moon Wizards into.
I did. I was, yeah, because like there was a weird moment when the beta came out and they made that shirt that said like Wizard from the Moon thing, making fun of how bad that line was, and then the actual proper game came out and they cut that line, and that was when I realized like Gearbox is the exact polar opposite of Bungie in terms of narrative design and writing, because like their way of dealing with a bad line that was stupid was to like, well, get get rid of it and make a joke half-heartedly on the internet, whereas we would have like gone in and re-recorded it and then like Peter Dinklage just scream at the top of your lungs like that wizard's coming from the moon or something like that.
Yeah.
And they totally didn't do that.
It's a different approach. Just checking. Did you hear the sound of the Unreal logo
I did.
appearing on the screen? Fantastic. Cool. Yeah. You should have just poached Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, I hear he's pretty cheap. He's a free agent.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. So, right. So Steam may be lying, but when I checked earlier, it seemed like you'd played a good solid chunk of this game.
I have, yes.
So you're probably a little further through it than we are. We've played about 7 hours. But it's kind of...
I think what actually happened is I left my computer on while I was doing other things. I've probably only played about actual real life 2-3 hours.
Oh, right. Okay. I was worried that you might come into it and just go like, oh yeah, it's a game about spoilers, or it's a game about something or another.
Not to my knowledge.
Because especially in the last stream, we uncovered a whole bunch of really interesting stuff that we weren't entirely expecting to understand or to uncover.
It's entirely possible that I haven't found any of that stuff because I found a couple little notes and that's kind of it.
Oh, right. Okay, so Cassie says the game volume is super loud. It's just the Unreal logo. So, as it stands at the moment, we've made our way into the ruins of Olympia, which is kind of nearby where we are now. You'll see the stream update in just a bit. And in these ruins, we found an enormous glowing sort of dome, or a dome of light. And we weren't entirely sure what it was. And as we explored further, we found that the kind of weird iPad device that we had was picking up digital notes. And it was a tech blog talking about how people were getting implants to look like the Immortals, which they were also calling the Senin. And over the kind of latter half of the last stream, we uncovered the fact that this strange green glow is the remnants of some sort of green beacon that made all the people in the surrounding area healthy all the time. Except towards the end, we found reports from people boycotting the areas and boycotting the programs because they said that it was a sort of medical elitism. You know, if you're really wealthy, you get to live in this area with this beacon that makes you really healthy and live for a really long time. We also found a picture that I'm going to put up on the stream just now that showed what the area was like when the beacon was still there. All fancy manicured trees and the glowing beacon and stuff. So as it stands, the story's become a lot more technological than probably the notes you found early on, which, if they were anything like ours, were sort of stories of this ruined community, this sort of sheltered, ruined community.
I think what I've got is even more simple than that. It's just somebody trying to find somebody else in the darkness. I found a note, evidently, that's, there's small ruins, and then I'm trying to find this thing, and it basically seems like the beginning of a typical, like, I'm about to be ravaged by monsters thing, which is kind of what made me go, like, I guess I'll pick this up later, and now I very much regret doing that.
It's okay. You get to experience a bit of it from us. Also, I've just heard that the image on the stream hasn't loaded yet, which is because it wasn't doing a thing that I was expecting it to. Sorry. I just got to add Eidolon to the to OBS. I was playing it in a window before, and now I'm playing it in full screen, which is enough to make OBS go, no, that's not right.
What are you doing?
I thought you were doing something different.
You're not trying to stream something, are you? What are you, stupid?
That's not what we do here. OBS just updated recently, which is a terrifying time every single time it happens, but it seems to be doing okay this time. We might even have gotten some new features. Alright, so that should be appearing just fine on the stream.
Yep, I see it.
Oh, great, cool. So as it stands, our plan is kind of just to explore further around here. Did you uncover how the kind of green glowing dots that you can summon from inside your inventory work?
You could summon green glowing dots from the inventory? I had no idea.
Okay, so
here's what I found. I have found a map.
Okay.
I have found a bow and arrow. I have found a fishing rod, and I have found a compass. And that is basically it so far.
In 11 hours of playing.
In 2 hours of playing and 9 hours of probably idling there while I just ate sandwiches nonstop.
And you found a note from somebody trying to find somebody else in the dark?
Yeah, let me look at it. What is it? It's been half a moon since we left our blood in the storm and shadow of night.
Oh god, yes. It's from Ada, right?
Yes, I think. It's not actually
yes.
signed or anything. I think I only found the first part of a longer letter.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a letter from a girl called Ada who has left a sheltered community called Old Town to try and uncover what's going on outside, because they've kind of got this sort of the village style style thing going, and she's uncovered these strange things up in the north, which is these communities that we found. But it sort of seems as though Old Town was hiding the evidence of society as it was back when there were these weird mystical healing beacons and smartphones and the internet and socialist lobbying committees and things. I'm just going to do some fishing here so I don't starve to death.
I love how much of a light touch the survival mechanics are in this game. It was a little bit. It took me a second to realize, like, oh, this is more of a this is more Proteus than Minecraft. But I really like it the more I play it.
And I think that it adds a really interesting rhythm to the environment in a way that not having them would make it feel a little more aimless. The fact that I'm sort of trying to look for bodies of water to fish or trying to pick blackberries or something. Mm-hmm. Also, in my iPad device, my Lux device, there are a whole bunch of status effects or spaces for status effects that I haven't experienced yet. So, after a period of time, there's there is still a whole bunch of even the mechanical stuff of this game that I don't fully understand. So I'm just here fishing by some rusting skyscrapers, which is the best way to spend a post-apocalypse.
Man, that's cool. Yeah, it's. I really respect that this game was super okay with letting you come to it with all your preconceptions and then not do anything to immediately disabuse you of them. Like,
Yeah.
first I thought it was a nature simulator, or first I thought it was a survival game. Then it's like, oh no, it's a nature simulator, and I had no idea that post-apocalypse stuff would ever enter into it at all.
Well, I was really surprised by, right up until very close to the release of this game, I thought it was a game about cavemen. I thought it was I thought it was kind of like the stomping ground, the stomping land.
Yeah.
But without dinosaurs. You
Right.
know, it was a sort of cross. It was like Shelter, but with cavemen. So I was really, really surprised to find that it was a sort of narrative, really heavily narrative game like this.
Mhm.
Hey, I wonder if that's a graphical artifact, but it looks like there's a... Oh, that's the land, I see. I thought there was like a Lost-esque wire running out into the ocean, but I think it's just the border of the land. Have you been doing an event today?
An event. What do you mean?
Like you said that you were at a booth.
Recording booth.
Oh, a recording booth. I didn't know whether or not you were
Yes.
at one of these fancy video game event things that was going on.
Oh no. I'm doing Borderlands, the pre-sequel-y stuff.
Oh, cool.
Or I guess I'm helping the actual writer of that game direct actors and stuff because he's not familiar with the actors we have here in Dallas. So.
Right. Has it been a long recording process?
Yeah, it always is because Gearbox is so seldom not making things that it's just like this constant sort of cycle of, write a thing, then help direct a thing, then go out and promote the thing, and by the time that you've come back, you've already started writing the next thing, and it's a satisfying. You don't get bored very easily.
Yeah. It seems like it'd be a pretty involved process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just cooking all this fish. I like the way I've taken the time to draw a little picture of the fish in the notebook.
Yeah.
Here I am with this fish that I'm just going to draw for a bit. We found another map as well. Did you find a map?
I found a map, yes.
So I found another one.
Oh.
Yeah, it's drawn by a different person. So my goal, I think, at the moment...
I got nominated for a BAFTA and I found 2 maps.
I've got 2 maps now. I'm Jack 2 maps to keep. I've got loads of space for maps in my inventory here. You don't know how much space for maps I've got. Because you can't see it on the
second
stream
one's
yet.
way prettier too.
It's really, really nice, isn't it?
The one I have looks like it was drawn by a tiny child. Yours is like artistic and shit. This
tiny
game is
child with
giving me leaderboard envy in a way that I did not think this game would.
I've got more maps than you. But something that I think is really interesting from a mechanical perspective is that the first map didn't tell you what the community was. It didn't even mark the community prominently down in the southwest. I thought they were trees for a long time, and then I noticed that they were little building shapes.
Oh crap! They are. They're buildings.
That's Old Town. That's the kind of village community. But by the time we find the second map, they kind of assume that we found Old Town, so they just write the Old Town on it and draw a little thing, which is kind of cool. So on that map, we're at this T-junction in the center. So my plan is to kind of head down the highway to the south and try and find some more audio diaries and things. I'm kind of following that dotted line. Do you see it? Past the claws and up to possibly the camp of the person who drew this map. There's definitely the character of somebody who left Olympia called Anders, and he found his way to Old Town. So I don't know whether or not this might be Anders's camp. That could be pretty cool. Something that this game's already doing is just creating a pretty large cast of characters. Every time we play, we add a whole new characters. There's a guy called Jamie who seems to be watching the fall of these cities. There's somebody called Elizabeth who runs like a... What does she call it? A Socialist America, a Citizens Progress group who opposes the Beacon Project. There's somebody called James Moncada who was kind of... He worked really hard to apparently draw the immortals towards Washington. The game hasn't made it particularly clear yet whether or not the immortals are kind of mythical beings, or whether or not they're people who've been by the beacons for so long that they essentially live forever.
That's cool.
And the idea of somebody that essentially lives forever in this kind of post-apocalyptic space is really interesting. Are we an immortal? What are we doing? Why have we got an iPad? Where have we come from?
And mechanically, when you die, you kind of just come back in a way that initially feels very video gamey, but is there actually justification for that, a la,
Absolutely.
Bioshock or something?
I mean, or were we rendered unconscious somehow? It's I don't know. How did you die when you played?
I saw a wolf and just wanted to hang out because I thought, oh, this is like a hippie, peaceful, like hang out with wolves and like interspecies friendship.
Like that Michel Ancel game that's just been announced.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was just hanging out with wolves thing, and then it turns out he wanted me dead very badly.
I did the same thing, except mine was perhaps more embarrassing because I saw a wildcat and thought it was a deer, so I just walked towards it. My animal identifying skills are not very good in this game. I've yet to find any more equipment than you have, but I kind of maybe suspect that there might be more. Did you find a dog?
I saw a dog from a distance.
Are you sure it was a dog? Because
no, it's probably a wolf.
That'd be pretty good. Vandwedge in the chat says, are Bioshock's chambers actually preferable to an artificial video game respawn?
I think because Bioshock was a game that was entirely about justifying literally every single one of its mechanics narratively, it was fine.
Yeah, I think it worked out fine. I never found the Vita Chambers particularly egregious. Although I'm not necessarily one of those people that always looks for challenge in games, unless they're very specific games. I don't know whether or not they'd have been more problematic if you'd gone into Bioshock looking for like that hill is too steep for me to walk up. I'm gonna have to go around it. If you'd gone into Bioshock looking for a particularly difficult System Shocky sort of experience.
Yeah, I mean, I work with the lead designer of Bioshock, and basically their marching orders are like, you know how we all think System Shock 2 is the best game ever made, and we're the only 5 people that do because that game sold 6 copies? What if we made that accessible? And that was one of the big accessibility things, was not really being punishing for individual decisions you've made or death or any of that kind of stuff. You can, swap out things all the time.
I think it worked fine. I didn't...
Yeah, same.
It didn't feel like a particularly huge concession towards accessibility. I found another audio diary, or a narrative fragment here, so I'm just going to go pick it up here. Let's see what we get. Oh, it's a newspaper article. A bastion on the peninsula. A group of self-proclaimed libertarian survivalists. This is interesting because there's been this kind of libertarian ideology throughout Old Town rumbling so far, but nobody's really directly called it what it is yet. So it's interesting that they've called them self-proclaimed libertarian survivalists. Are you
going to find Ron Paul at the end of this?
Yeah, he's the end boss.
He's the end boss? He's the raid boss?
A group of self-proclaimed libertarian survivalists calling themselves Bastion has called on the United States government to recognize their sovereignty. These survivalists are located in our very own Washington and are led by the eccentric and outspoken Erica Baumgardner. I managed to get in contact with Katniss Ocampo, one of Miss Baumgardner's aides, who helped me learn more about Bastion. According to Katniss, Erica Baumgardner owns approximately 50 acres in Olympic mountain range, and in the center of it, these libertarian survivalists have built a self-sustaining facility. They intend not just to survive, but build a freer place, and Miss Baumgardner and her like-minded friends are convinced that the first step towards their free world is complete separation from the United States. These survivalists have already begun to pursue aggressive measures in order to ensure their safety. Katniss informed me that their compound is surrounded by signs warding off trespassers, and the actually grounds are defined by electrified razor wire fences. Furthermore, all members must go through rigorous combat training and wilderness survival training. When pressed about their far-fetched bid for sovereignty, Katniss said, "We are not like those nutjobs in the middle of the country who are organizing militias to fight the US government. We're simply a group of people who are fully capable and fully intend to make a better life for ourselves, and do not want the government interfering with that. The people of Bastion show serious determination, but success is unlikely, seeing as how the US government has a history of denying even limited sovereignty to native groups with far older and frankly far more legitimate claims."
That writer is not being objective.
Right,
Hashtag Gamergate.
is
Hashtag not your shield.
not being objective. Definitely not. It's interesting that, I mean, is this Bastion that they're talking about Old Town?
Sounds like you're right.
But why are they calling it Bastion at this stage? And if so, was there a politically motivated change from Bastion to Old Town? When
Well,
they
presumably it didn't start off as being Old Town, right? That would be a pretty
no,
grim
well,
way to start off your
it's
utopia.
suggested earlier that it was specifically named Old Town.
Really?
Yeah, there's a speech here from a guy talking about founding Old Town. He says, more importantly than all that, because children of the future, are they not? Old Town believes in freeing our children from the burden of devil tech. Old Town believes in free trade. Old Town believes in freedom of religion. Old Town believes in tradition. So I wonder if they changed the name when they specifically wanted to start harking back to old stuff.
It could be one of those things like Jim Jones, where like the media called him Jonestown, and he had, I think, a different name for his little sort of cult thing.
Oh, possibly. I wonder if... Yes. I don't know. It seems... I was making an assumption that the speaker in this thing was male because he makes us... Or they make a sort of a jab at... Never again will you find yourself forced into the kitchen. Am I right, gents? Wait for laughs or something. But it could absolutely be Erica Baumgartner talking about this. Also, this is a rare audio diary. Oh, I'm calling them audio diaries because I don't really know what else. Like narrative fragments, written
Journal pages, I guess, is the only like equivalent in other games, maybe.
or like
You're
diaries.
you're finding Sam and Lonnie's journal pages.
Yeah,
equivalent.
exactly. The libertarian Sam and Lonnie. Often they have
Yeah.
these kind of like tabs underneath. Beacons, Eleanor, Moncada, Earthquake, Senin. That's what they call the Immortals. Beacons. And clicking on those spawns like a little green glowing thing that goes dashing off in a direction where the next journal page will be found.
Oh, neat. That's cool.
Which is really cool. And so this is a rare journal entry in that it doesn't have any of those underneath. I can't find anything more related to this stuff at this point in time. So this comes down to another thing I was wondering about, which is, does this game have an end? How does this game end?
I bet you that this game has an ending.
I'm wondering how it would be
This
even
doesn't feel like an
triggered.
explore forever kind of thing.
Do you think it would just be triggered based on amount of content that I've found?
Probably. I mean, it basically feels like you're in a game loop similar to that of Gone Home, where it's kind of like find out a bit of information that leads you to the next bit of information, which allows you to find your way to the next bit of information, and so on and so forth.
I suppose. But
This is a finite map, right?
Yes, it is. But even Gone Home has like mechanical barriers to progression, and I haven't found any of those yet. But the map does seem to be bloody enormous. So
My suspicion, and this could be wrong, and you can let me know, is that the game seems to, at least initially, kind of just wait a period of time and then drop an important thing in front of you. Like,
oh
I
no,
kinda just
I
the
believe
direction.
that they're very specifically placed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like the world is preceded with stuff. Also, I think I'm on the wrong road here. I'm on a road going west here. So on the map, I'm going to the left end of the T-junction. Actually, I'll follow this road for a bit. Let's see what we find. Yeah, I think it's being very specific in...
Yeah, I got the feeling that the game was sort of very gently giving me the things that I needed to realize that this was a game with some form of progression. That's just how I kind of assumed, because I very quickly
Yeah.
found like, oh, neat, this tool. Oh, neat, there's a map here that leads to something. Oh, neat. And I found them so quickly it just felt almost artificial, but
I
not in a
wonder
bad way.
if that was the sort of the specific, like, opening sequence, seeding the player with an opening sequence.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, is if the rest of it is all set and you just have to find that stuff, but that first initial thing is just to teach you, hey, this is a game about, specific stuff, not about like non-linear Minecraft survival where the world is proc gen and everything.
Yeah. I found for a long time I didn't know what the kind of green breadcrumb thing did. And that confused me for a really long time. And then when I found out, the pace of the game picked up a lot. But I know that there is probably a hell of a lot of stuff still back in in the first map, essentially, that I haven't found yet. Apathetic Aplomb says, I hope Anthony knows how to read a compass since we don't have Janine. On the last stream, I demonstrated my my fantastic compass reading skills, which, you know, they're definitely... They've improved since the last stream, let's say.